Hi, this is a tool I've been working on for a little bit. It's called TheateRow, and it does seating charts one row at a time so it can be more accurate. The way you use it is you select the tool. You can pick what vertex you want. You can use any vertex, and you can just use them all if you want. I'll start with a radius. And you just click along and you double click to end it. And it's important that you draw from house left to house right because the seats will always appear on the left side. So you want to draw that direction. There's a new mode for inserting seats. Thank you, Scott Parker. Uh, by default, it'll use the minimum seating mode, which will be a minimum seating spacing of 1 foot 10 inches. It used to only the old version of it used to only do number of seats. Would always every row would have 10 seats, and you'd have to change it. And if you leave these checked, it'll create the stock symbols that the tool needs. It'll create some stock classes that you can use, and it'll create some text styles to help dress it up. You can see it creates the symbols for the house left and house right arms, the interior arm, and a bunch of seat symbols and the text styles. You can see right out of the box, it's in minimum spacing mode, which means it's going to try to space the seats out about 1 foot 10 inches. And if you look, you can see it has actually spaced them out at 1 foot 11.985 inches. It won't go under. It'll go as close as it can without going under. Um, the other way to do this is to switch it to number of seats. If you have to, if you're trying to line it up with a number of existing seats, and then you could set the spacing to be set the number of seats to be whatever you want. And one of the nice things is that it has only one armrest between seats, which cuts down on a lot of clutter. So we can turn on the seat numbers. The seat number can start with whatever you want and increment by whatever you want and go either direction. So here we can just switch it to go the other way from house left to house right. We can set it to start at 101 and increment by 2, so we have just the odd seats. And we can also rotate those seat numbers so that they line up with the seats. And if we need to offset the seat numbers, we can enter a value here. By default, it's 1 foot. But if the geometry of your seat is interfering with the seat number, you can adjust it here. And we can give it a row name. So let's try A. And if I show it on house left, you'll see it appear over there on the left. And there's a little handle. You can grab that and move it to where you want. If you show house right, it's not going to it's going to show right sort of hanging up and to the left of the first one. And you just grab that and move it to wherever you want. And of course, you can rotate those so that they'll rotate to the same angle as the first and last seats. And you can give it a section name. So let's say this is, I don't know, house left. And then if you show the section, it'll appear up there. And then you also, if you want to rotate that, you have to do that manually. You have to type in an angle and it'll rotate it. If you want to show a location like balcony or orchestra level or something like that, you can enter a location there and then you show it, and it's going to be sort of off to the left. Let's zoom out here. There you go. And you can put that wherever you want. That has the same kind of rotation option. You just type in a value for rotation if you need to line it up with something. And if you want to change the text style of something, it's all done with these text styles. So here's the location. I'm going to edit that. And I'll just make this bigger and outline, and I'll take away the background. And sometimes it doesn't quite show up. You have to just nudge it a little bit to get it to wake up. And you can do that with all of them. You can do that with all of the numbers or labels. Edit their style like that. Let's take a look at the symbols. Well, first let's start with the arms. You can see the arms can offset just like the seat numbers. So if you need to draw the riser, but the seat is set off from the riser, you can just go ahead and draw on the riser and then offset everything. And then you just type in the name of the symbol that you want to use for the seat, and it'll change. And you could turn off the arms if you don't need them. Okay, now let's get serious. Sometimes you need more than one type of seat in a row, and this is a new thing I'm just trying out with this version. If you click on Manage Seat Symbols, and I spelt seating mode wrong. That's funny. I'll try to fix that before I post this. Um, you can see every seat going from house left to house right, seat 1 through 12, has a symbol. And you can individually change those now. So if I want to put in an accessible seat on the last 4, I just change just that seat, and then I can just copy and paste. Or if I need to block a seat someplace, I can just pick a seat out and block it. What I'm hoping this is all leading up to is a way to think about managing COVID seating when we can start to come back. So if you look, there's another setting below Manage Seat Symbols called Manage by Radius, and that'll add a button to turn on a radius. So let's say I want to pick out the 3rd seat and I want to make that be a real seat. I'm going to use that one. I can look at a radius, a definable radius around it. So you can see it's set to be 6 feet right now. And then I can just block all the seats that fall in that radius. I'm hoping that in a future update, I can make just clicking that button to turn on the radius will kill all the seats that intersect with that radius. We'll see. Working on it. If you're doing something that doesn't need theater seats, you're just going to use folding chairs or banquet chairs or something. You can use any symbol you want. Here, let's go get just draw a straight row here. And now I'm going to go look in another drawing, pull a symbol in for, here we go. We got these folding chairs, event chairs. Let's import those. And so I can just use that. So just tr seat folding. And if I put that in with the seat symbol and turn off the arms, I'll get a row of folding chairs. All the other options still work. I can still put numbers on them, give them section names and whatever. It's important that whatever symbol you use, that the insertion point is in the back on the center of it, and that it faces up. All right, let's take a look at a real example. So this is what I was thinking when I started making this tool. It's pretty common in a lot of regional theaters to have crazy vom entrances, to have row spacing that isn't equal for all rows, to have seat spacing that isn't equal, to have rows that are not equally spaced heights. For instance, here you could see part of this row is a foot higher than the rest of the row. This is the kind of thing that I typically encounter, and trying to use the regular Vectorworks seating tool is trickier with situations like this. It's a little fussier. So a lot of times what I like to do is just make some guides and turn off the 3D geometry of the risers and stuff. And then it's just 3 clicks per row or per row per section. Um, you know, just we could probably I missed a little bit there. We can probably speed this up, but you get the idea. Uh, I know in a previous version I talked about using the split tool to cut up rows, so you just make one long row and then use it to cut up. I don't know why I said that because I don't really do that. Um, if you have this problem where you try to delete one vertex and then it doesn't go, just start over. It's easier to start over than it is to, or delete two vertices. Don't just delete the last one. Go back two. That seems to make it happy. But if you delete one vertex and then try to end it on an arc, it'll complain about it. But this moves pretty quickly. Uh, you know this whole this whole theater only took to get it with seat numbers and sections and everything laid out. I don't know. It only took half an hour, 45 minutes, something like that. You can see I missed there. In that case like that, I wouldn't go back and try to fix it. I would just delete it and keep going. All right, we can. So now if I now I know that they're set for minimum spacing right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of these and I'm going to set them all to number of seats because I know how many seats are actually in there, right? And so now I can just enter in the actual number of seats that are in each row. So that was 9. The next two also have 9. The next two have 10 seats, but then after that we have a couple rows with 11 seats. And screwed this one up. But this one has 12 seats. And I accidentally bumped that. But it has 10 seats. And that is actually an accessible row, so I'm going to that be accessible and turn off the arms. And rather than try to put it back, I'm just going to redraw it. It's faster. All right. So now let's take a look at the seating numbers. So we'll turn on the seat numbers. These all go from house right to house left. They're odd. They start with 1 and they're odd. So I'm going to give an increment of 2. And I should probably also rotate those seat numbers. So let's do that. Get them all again. I'll rotate the seat numbers. And we'll assign some rows. This is row A. Probably capital A is better. So I'm just going to give all of these rows. I'm going to turn on the rows. Turn on the house left side, and I'm only going to use the house left side. I'll use to put the row in the aisle. I'll use the house left side of the next one. And then you just repeat this. let's take a look at a finished seating layout. A couple things. It's important that in each section you only have one row that has the show section button checked. If you otherwise, you could show a section for every row if you click on show. Oops, the second row. If I clicked on show section, it would also show that one up here, but I don't need it. I only need it once per section. So just pick one row and turn on show section for that section. Same with the location. Just one row in this whole orchestra level needs to have show location turned on. I also made a couple of selection scripts, so if you want to pick all of row G, you can do that. It'll pick all of row G, or if you need just section 3, you can run that and it'll just get section 3. It's a lot easier to deal with it that way. The other thing, as long as we have section 3, let's open up this one. So seats in section 3. I'm going to turn all of these to manage seat symbols. And I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to pick just this back row. And let's say I want to take this, the 5th seat in, and I want to use that one. I'm going to turn on the radius, and I'll come here to the 5th seat, and I'll turn that radius on and go, okay, so I want to take the 2nd seat and block it. This is just a, oops. All right, now I'm going to open up this section 3 worksheet. This is another way of dealing with this that I find a little bit faster. And I'm going to tell this to update. So there you can see when I have, this is only when I have manage seat symbols or manage by radius selected, then it'll only show this, like for the first row only has 6 seats, so that's all it shows up. But looking at this, I can see that, okay, well, so seat 1's going to be okay, seat 2's going to be blocked, and I can just copy that, paste, and just work my way down. And it's a much quicker way. So now I can go from here, I can go up, I can block that seat, go over, block that seat, block that seat. And it's just a much quicker way of doing that. So I'll include that in the sample file if you guys want to play with that. There's one other thing I should probably point out. If you run into this, up here we have an example where there's a section cut in one row where this row is part of a section, but the same row is part of another section. All I did is just put in two TheateRow objects. And then on this one, here, we're done with you. On this one, I set the house left arm to be nothing. And on the next one, I set the house right arm. So the house left arm to be nothing. And on this one, I set the house right arm to be an interior arm. And that way you can get 2 rows right together and not get a double arm in between them. I think that pretty much covers the basics. If you have any questions, feel free to get in touch with me. And if you have any requests or any questions about how to use it, let me know.